Welcome to Born to Influence, the podcast where we explore the hidden forces that shape who we are and who we become. I'm your host, Silas, and today we're diving into something you may never have questioned, but has shaped your life in countless ways: your siblings, or your lack of them. What if I told you that your personality, your career choices, even your confidence level may all trace back to your spot on the family tree? Firstborns, middle children, youngest, only kids. We've all heard the stereotypes, but there's a surprising amount of research that backs up the idea that siblings play a major role in our future. So today, we're breaking it down. How do siblings shape us? What's different when you grow up without any? And why does it even matter? Well, let's start with the basics. Psychologist Alfred Adler was one of the first to argue that birth order affects personality. Firstborns, they're often the reliable and achievement driven children. Middle children are the flexible, social, sometimes overlooked. The youngest are the free spirited and creative ones. Only children? They're often mature and ambitious and used to adult company. Of course, these aren't hard rules, I should know, but studies have supported some of these trends. For example, firstborns often take on leadership roles later in life, and only children may develop strong independence early on. But why? It's about roles. In families with multiple kids, you're cast a role from the start. The caregiver, the rebel, the peacekeeper, and those roles follow you long after you leave home. I should know. So me and my sister both did many extracurriculars growing up, but my sister always managed to find her way into the leadership positions of these extracurriculars, whether it be archery, team captain, or the president of the school's FFA chapter, or head of the recycling club, even. She always managed to find herself there, and according to this, that'd be right. She is the eldest child. And meanwhile, you have me. I was always the child that was out there doing things that no one in the family had really done. Like, I managed to reach my Eagle Scout, which no one in the family had ever done. Uh, I'm the only musician in my family. Uh, I'm the only one in my family that can speak multiple languages. Uh, Many things like that. I was always deemed the creative child. Oftentimes, that led to many family members placing bets to see if I was going to become gay or whatever else that they believe. But honestly, it's despite that fact, I'm the creative of the family. My sister is incredibly talented when it comes to art, but she doesn't have the ability to just make something new. She can follow instructions very well for painting. She can see something and she can paint what she sees, but she can't paint from her mind. I'm no artist, but everything that I do comes from up here. I don't usually have a plan laid out. I just go along. And usually it works out. But the amount of times I've gone off and done something and my parents have called me like, "Where are you?" Uh, Never gets old. Once I took a trip up to Washington, D.C. I was a junior in high school, and it was in my friend's car. I was just hanging out with him, and he's like, "Hey, want to go to D.C. for the weekend?" I went, "Sure." So we were about halfway there, and my parents called me. They're like, "So we drove by Hudson's house, and his mom said that you and him left a while ago. Where are you at?" And looked out the window, and I'm like, "West Virginia." She's like, "West Virginia?" And I'm like, "Yeah, forgot to mention that." It was a very, very eventful weekend. Anyway, research also shows that siblings impact our academic performance and social development. According to a study from Ohio State University, only children often perform better academically. Why? Possibly because they receive more parental attention. But there's a trade off. Kids with siblings often have more practice negotiating, compromising, and reading social cues. This can lead to better emotional intelligence and teamwork skills, things that matter just as much in adulthood. Me and my sister, we fought an awful lot, whether it be over chores or food, even. Like, we fought a lot over what we're going to have for food. But, we're sponsored by Cookout today. But we always ended up compromising on one thing or another. I actually went through the time to interview a couple of the people on my floor to see what they have to say about this. I will not be using their real names, of course, but um, I always had to fight to be heard at the dinner table, says Justin, middle child. Now I speak up in meetings without hesitation. I didn't have anyone to fight with, laughs Luke, an only child. But I also didn't have anyone to lean on when things got tough. Now, me and my sister, we do fight a lot, but we always come around to one another. We don't stay mad. We always make up in the end. And I don't think I could have gotten as far as I have in college or anything without my sister's support. Me and her lead incredibly different lives. She's an agriculture educator, and I'm in school to be a music educator, and we've always kind of had that clash of ideologies growing up. I was always the academically gifted one. She was the leader, and she was the school club person, the student body president, all that stuff. That was her stuff. I stayed in the band room all day doing homework and practicing. But regardless of this, we kind of pushed each other to be better, whether it's out of jealousy of one another or to try and, well, definitely in high school it was jealousy, but eventually it turned more into we need each other to get through this sort of thing. Anyway, it's not all black and white. There are plenty of myths about sibling dynamics. Only children are not necessarily spoiled. Middle children aren't always neglected. Your relationship quality matters more than just the presence of siblings. In some families, siblings support each other emotionally, becoming lifelong allies, like me and my sister. In others, they compete for attention, creating lifelong tension, like my best friend Mason. It's not necessarily how many siblings you have, but rather how you relate to them. Speaking of my friend Mason, uh, me and him have been friends since middle school. Uh, and I'm going to be the best man at his wedding. But he has two siblings. He has a much, much older sibling, which I've never met, and it's been a while since he's seen him because he moved out a long time ago. And then his other sibling, her name is Michaela. And the two of them are constantly butting heads. Michaela is a business major at Moorhead, whereas Mason completed high school early and joined the workforce, where he works for my dad at a factory. But the two of them have been clashing for as long as I can remember, whether it be because of marching band, because of Mason's fiance, even. Mason's fiance used to be best friends with Michaela until she got engaged with Mason, Then the two of them had a falling out because Michaela never thought that Mason is good enough for her. And no matter Mason has tried and tried and tried to reconcile with her, but every single time he tries to, she makes it about herself and drives him further away. Drives that wedge, that divide between the two of them. So he has turned to me instead to fill that gap in his life, and I'm more than happy to. I've never had a brother. And honestly, I see him more as a brother than as a friend anymore. He's he's the best friend anyone could ask for, even though he almost killed me multiple times. Unironically, I got a shard of glass in my chest from the first time I went over to his house, where he kicked me out the window. It's about that big. Anyway, it definitely matters. Having the dynamic be negative, it only hurts. And it wasn't as much of a it wasn't as much of a competing for attention between the two of them, because they were both highly highly good at what they did. They were both musicians. Not sure why either one of them didn't go into music, but the biggest difference between the two of them was Michaela was naturally talented. She didn't practice. She could. Mason is the opposite. He practiced all the time. Whenever I went over to his house, he had a marimba that he would practice on. Whenever we're in the band room, he'd be completely locked in practicing all day. That's what he did. And he was probably one of the best drummers, percussionists. He's probably one of the best percussionists I've ever seen. For fun, he sits on his couch with his marching tenors and he will watch old recordings of drum corps. And his ability to just watch them do something, listen to it, and then he can just do it. Like, he watches it once or twice and all of a sudden he can play the entire percussion break that they just did. And it's like, how can you do that? That's amazing. Without music, just completely by ear. That's amazing. But I definitely would say that the two of them. I wish the two of them would make up sometimes because I don't think I could have gotten this far without my sister. But I understand. I definitely do understand the whole issue between the two of them. And their dad help. He tries to help. He's the one that gives them a reason to come together every now and again, but they don't want to. When they do, she ends up yelling at him and he leaves. Anyway, enough about story time and whatnot. So, what does this mean for your future? Understanding how your family dynamics shaped your worldview can help you grow. Maybe you're a firstborn perfectionist. Maybe you're a lastborn dreamer, like me. Maybe you learned how to solve conflict early, or maybe you're still learning. Your siblings can influence, you're not even can, they do. They influence our coping skills, our resilience, even our career paths. And if you're an only child, that brings its own strengths, like independence, self-sufficiency, and a strong one-on-one communication style. So, the next time you think about where you're headed, I want you to take a glance back. Not just at your parents or your hometown, but at the siblings who challenged you, supported you, or maybe the siblings that never even existed. Because in shaping your identity, siblings matter a lot more than we realize. Well, that about wraps it up for me. Thank you for listening to Born into Influence. If you liked today's episode, Share it with someone you fought with over a remote, argued with over chores, and maybe someone you never had to share a room with at all. I'm Silas. I'll catch you next time.